Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one rated sportsbook app out there. I am your host, Rudolph, joined by AJ Haefele. Let's call it what it is. You ever eat a sloppy joe where you try and eat it and all of the sloppy joes just fall out of the bun, like 100% of the sloppy joes?
No, I turned 11 a long time ago.
All right. Well, that's what this game felt like to me. So
it's more like it was more like getting a burrito, taking a bite into it, and finding a finger.
Ooh. Was it a finger? More like a toe, maybe, to be honest. But anyway, Avs lose 6-2 to the Minnesota Wild in a game marred by sloppiness all over the ice. And that isn't to say that the Avs played that awfully for most of the game. People are going to look at this final score and go, wow, the Avs lost 6-2. But this game was 3-2 with 9 minutes left in the third period or something. Yeah. So while it ended a blowout, it wasn't a blowout the full game. Thank you, Vaguely Sober, for the super chat. Much appreciated.
Yay, we suck again. I love it, man. Like, let's drown in this misery. Okay, this is how I've been feeling for the last 2.5 weeks in my regular life outside of work. Like, depression rocks, guys. You guys are going to love it. All you do is you lay in bed all day and you don't think about anything because it makes you sad. Trying to do the most basic of things is incredibly difficult, and it feels like you're constantly at war with yourself. That's what Avs fandom is right now, because they've lost 2 whole games in a row. So let's bathe in the misery. Let's just drown in it.
Oof. Y'all do yourself. I ain't gonna do that. That's all I'm saying. I ain't about to live that life. I will say the first period, most of it was not great for the Avs. The turnovers in particular, massive problem tonight, and those lasted throughout the game for the most part. What's the cure to just sloppy puck management here, AJ? Is this just something better. They have to work themselves out of? Yeah, that simple?
Yeah, play better.
All right, just play better. You heard the man.
Play better.
So, what? Those are basically the 2 main issues I have. 1, puck management was bad. 2, the Avs got to finish. The Avs have to finish. They had plenty of opportunities in this game to score goals. They put in 1 of them, it's a completely different game. They put in 2, they probably win. Instead, they're sitting here, and they end up getting blown out in the end of this game. We talked about this a little bit the other day, where a lot of people on the Avs right now, their on-ice shooting percentages are not sustainable to stay this low. We even saw JT Compher score a goal tonight.
Yeah.
But what's it going to take for the Avs to get back to their goal-scoring ways?
Well, I mean, we've talked, I think simplifying it is really going to help a lot. We saw even on the Compher goal tonight, Girard arguably makes 1 pass too many.
Yep.
Now, we also watched Sam Girard get 3 shots blocked from up high in the first period.
Yep.
So I can understand why he's like, I'm going to move this puck. And, let's be honest, as great as Sam Girard is at a lot of different things in the game, his shot is arguably
the weakest part of his entire game.
Well, and it's easily the weakest part of his game, but it's arguably one of the worst shots on the entire team.
Yeah.
So fair. I think that, I'm okay with him making that extra little pass. And obviously I know the result of it, so I'm fine with it, right? It's like, okay, well, but I think as a whole, the team just needs to keep it a little simpler. Yeah. We saw, I thought, very instructive moment for this would be when they're doing video work tomorrow, when Rantanen's trying to cut across the slot, and instead of beating the one guy and trying to shoot the puck,
3 sticks,
he tries to beat 3 of them.
Yeah.
And we've seen him score on that move, that exact move, a couple of times. So it's one of those things where you're kind of like,
If it's working, it's working. But
if it works, you feel great about it. But if
Yeah.
it doesn't, you're like, hey, bud, keep it simpler.
for sure.
But I think that's I think that's a thing that they have to worry about. So I will say just gonna put this out there. Chat needs to chill out tonight. If you guys are spamming any nonsense, you're getting blocked. If you guys think that you're gonna be like the drivers of the clown car in the chat tonight, you're getting blocked. So just a quick like aside to you guys that think that you want to dominate this conversation. Not
You've
tonight.
been warned. Yeah.
Read the room. Not tonight.
So now you know. Let's keep going through the rest of this Avs lineup. Philip Grubauer maybe didn't play great in the third period, but let's be honest, got hung out to dry for the most part in this hockey game. The Avs giving up multiple 2-on-1s, 3-on-1s. I think, there were like 4 3-on-1s that I can think of. So hard to put much blame on Grubauer here. One of the main conversations I've seen around Grubauer is how tired is he? What are the Avs going to do when it comes to potentially playing their backup goaltender? That they don't really have a true backup right now. So I don't really have a problem with Grubauer is what I'm saying. Keep rolling him. Obviously, you got to play backups for back-to-backs. But other than that, this game means nothing to me as far as the Avs goaltending is concerned.
I think this is the warning shot of if you don't have a backup that you trust and you're only going to play them on back-to-backs, this is what's going to happen. You accept that you're going to have a Philip Grubauer game like this.
Yep.
So I think this was a good thing for the front office to see. You know, the adversity in Game 16 where it's like, look, you cannot continue to just live like this. If Pavel Francouz, look, you guys know they're the only ones on freaking Earth who know what timetable Pavel Francouz's injury should be on. So if they're the ones who are holding off and they're saying he'll be back. We believe he'll be back. We trust that he'll be back, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? All these things, whatever. If they think he's going to be back, then maybe you just keep hanging on. But right now, they're telling us it's still long-term. It's not happening soon. It's still long-term. You can't have your starter break down 20 games into the friggin' season. And like, I'm not necessarily going to say that tonight was a result of overworking, but this is what it looks like. So if they're not going to do something at that position, then they need to, because Grubauer needs help. It's not that Grubauer's been bad. It's that Grubauer's been spectacular, and they've gotten away with that. They haven't won very many games when Grubauer's not been great. They had the one San Jose game where they won 7-3. He wasn't very good in that game. They lost.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, they won that game. Tonight was the exact opposite. The offense was not able to bail out the rest of the team just not playing very well. They weren't able to beat goaltenders and get in there. It just was not.
Sure.
Tonight.
There were a lot of things that went wrong tonight.
Yeah, it was just a combination of things. Like, it was bend but don't break. You feel awful about the breakdown on especially that third goal.
What ends up being the game-winning goal in this game? First of all, Byram turns the puck over. I want to save the defensive conversation for the second period, so we'll get to that in a second. But what do you do as Nazem Kadri, who turns around, is the man supposed to be tracking the puck, and just runs right into the referee? Whoever was defending behind the net was expecting Kadri to take that man, so he was backing off around the far side. And Kadri, the ref sets the greatest pick in the history of hockey on Nazem Kadri, and it creates basically a 2-on-0.
Yeah, I mean, if Byram doesn't lose that puck or if he makes a better play there, we're not even having this conversation.
Yeah, it's a nothing play, for sure.
And that's where it started. And then I think the bigger issue is that two dudes are 50 feet away.
Yeah, they just blasted off.
Yeah, they just flew the zone, and we're like, we gotta go. We gotta get out of here. Like, you're obviously not expecting a one face-off to turn into that on a freaking power play. But too lackadaisical. Not enough attention to detail. Another moment that was a great example of how the little things matter in the game. If just one of those guys is paying attention and is keeping an eye on what's actually happening with the freaking puck, maybe one of them is able to get back and be disruptive.
Someone's sitting in the center of the ice and it's not a wide open shot from the slot. Yeah, sure.
The Avs still had a man advantage in their own zone on that goal. Even with the pick, it was still, they were still, if you assume that the pick on Kadri removes him from the play, it was still 2 guys on 2. And there was a wide open dude in front of the net. And that desperation from Byron and Kadri, it wasn't enough to get there. Byron didn't play a good game tonight. He was bad.
No.
And it's like, look, it's fine. It's fine to criticize Bo and Byron. You're freaking allowed to.
Metrics-wise, Byron was arguably worse than Connor Timmins. Now, Connor Timmins had the massive, horrible mistakes in this game that everyone sees and goes, that's horrible, that can't continue to happen. But Byram continually got beat in this game as well. And we'll talk about the defense a little bit more in the second period. We do have to take our first period break here, as we are sponsored by Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. You can get that down at the DNVR bar. Hope all of you will join us Friday and Saturday. AJ and I will be in the bar doing our post-game shows live there after the game. So please come on down and have yourself some Breck Brew. And, of course, we are sponsored by Chevalier Mortgage. Both Mike and Virginia have been in the business for a while, and they're family and locally owned here in Denver, just like us. So support them. Supporting our partners is supporting us. You can head on over to DNVRmortgage.com to win yourself some free DNVR merch, as well as get signed up for a free consultation. They'll give you more than just a great rate, as Mike is a financial planner and will look at every aspect of your finances to find the right home loan for you. Again, you can visit them at DNVRmortgage.com to get all set up, and you can also call Virginia at a phone number that I totally didn't have to go look up, 303-257-6578. Michael Chevalier, NMLS 1931006, Virginia Chevalier, NMLS 1910631. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Before we jump into the defensive conversation, I've seen it come up in chat a couple times. I'm going to say this once. If you talk about it again, we're going to time you out. Jared Bednar's not on the hot seat. Full stop. Next. Avs defense. Bone Byram's 19. Connor Timmins, has he turned 22 yet, or is he still 21?
He's 22.
He's 22? Okay. The most experienced defender on the ice tonight is Sam Girard, who is 24. Ryan Graves a little bit older, but NHL experience limited because he was late getting into the league. Kind of the same story with Devon Taves. When you run a defense this young, when you run a defense with this lower on the experience end, certainly, in Timmins and Byram's case, virtually no experience, nights are going to happen where you're just not managing the puck well. Guys are going to make wrong decisions. The game is going to fall apart. How much of that can you chalk up to an inexperienced young defense? How much of this do you say they need to be better?
I mean, some of it. I think it's both, right? Like, yeah. They need to be better, but the best way for them to get better, and the only way for them to get more experience is just to play through it. Like, Ryan Graves is a guy that is a perfect example of you just let him go. You let him play through some of these problems.
For sure.
You know, and when this defense is playing well, we talk about this defense as one of the league's best. Because it is. Because the way that they get and distribute pucks and move them out of their zone means that they stay out of that danger that we didn't see them stay out of very much tonight. You know, their puck management is going to be a big thing as a group. They need to get better. Connor Timmins needs to make better decisions. He had a really good start the first
his first
5 minutes
shift, he was balling out in the offensive zone, and
it was like, oh my gosh, look at Connor Timmins go, man! Like, this is good.
And then him and Kadri makes an awful pass to the point. Timmins overcommits, and it's 1-0 Minnesota, just like that.
And that pass, like, it's both of those guys
for sure. Both are at fault.
As I put it in the post-game piece that'll be up here in a little bit, Kadri puts Timmins in a bad situation, and a bad situation led to a bad result.
Yep.
And even one that you can argue they got a little unlucky on, because Minnesota overpassed that situation and got away with it.
Everything that went wrong on that play could, right? Minnesota has a 3-on-1. They overpass. Zuccarello ends up double clutching the puck, but Grubauer just can't recover, and it ends up in their net.
And Grubauer, this is a great example of, like, Grubauer didn't play a great game tonight. Look at that goal. That goal is a good example of it. What's he doing there?
Yep. If he's more in control, he gets up to that far post, and there's no angle for Zuccarello to shoot at all.
Yeah.
For sure. But again, everything on the plays where the Avs fell apart went wrong at the same time.
Also, Timmins got back for that goal from the Zuccarello goal.
Yep.
He got all the way back, and that shot went in between his legs.
Yep. And it's like when issues on plays are compounding that hard, obviously, we just mentioned 6 things the Avs could do better, but at the same time, you kind of shrug your shoulders and go, come on, something's got to go right.
Yeah.
So,
and this is kind of where I think that we're in a world where the Avs they're playing poor. Then this is what they talk about when they say you make your own luck.
Yeah, for sure.
Because when you're playing poorly, things happen to you and not for you.
Yep.
And Minnesota right now is just playing as well as they have all year. I think tonight was their 4th straight win since returning from COVID, and things happened for them.
Yep.
When you're rolling, you're rolling, baby. That's just life. That's exactly. I mean, that's applicable to every single one of us in life. You know that when you're in the soup, a couple of things happen to you, and you're like, all right, let's bounce back up off this mat and let's go do this thing. This is all right. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna be fine. Don't make too much of this. We're having this conversation after the first time that they've lost 2 games all year.
Yep.
16 games into the season is the first time they lost back-to-back games on the season. And we're having to play therapist for a fan base that's freaking out.
It's so unnecessary.
Guys, there are 40 games remaining in the season. That's both a lot and a little, because they play every other day. Although I will tell you, the San Jose series is in serious doubt right now.
Yeah, that may not happen.
There's a decent chance that ends up being 2 more days off for Colorado.
Yeah.
But things are fine. Like, you look at the last 2 teams that they've played before the season started. Most people, Rudo and I were not them, but most people felt that Minnesota was the 4th best team in the division. They're good defensively.
Let me ask you this. Flip the outdoor game and the shutout from Vegas. If the Avs had won their last game against Vegas instead of the outdoor game, meaning this is not 2 game losses in a row, but a win and then a loss to Minnesota, how do you feel about this as a fan base? Do you feel the same? Do you feel different? I'm asking this to chat as much as I am AJ.
Do the games happen the exact same way where they get shut out?
Identical.
They get shut out 3-0 in Tahoe and Fleury plays crazy, but the Avs also don't play well.
Yep. And then 3-2 at home on home ice. They get the job done against Vegas with a not a late Kadri goal. That was game 2. Anyway, they win 3-2 with a Taze goal in the 3rd period. That's what it was. It's just, you have to be able to recognize the big picture here. And I know all these people are talking about how the Avs could be 6th in the division. That's not really accurate. By points percentage, as St. Louis, did they just officially lose? Yes. St. Louis just officially lost to LA. Avs are in 3rd in the Western Division by points percentage. So they're doing just fine. They're ahead of St. Louis. They're comfortable in their spot, and they have 3 games in hand on St. Louis. They have 2 games in hand on LA. They have 2 games in hand on Arizona. They have games in hand on every single team that's behind them in the division. So this isn't like a crisis of, oh no, the Avs are falling out of the playoffs. They're doing just fine as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. Also, something that I'm not actually surprised I'm having to say this at all right now, just given the way that Avs fans have kind of reacted to every loss this year.
Yeah.
But Stanley Cups aren't awarded 16 games into the season.
Even in a regular year, you don't win the Stanley Cup in February.
Yeah. And for anybody that wants to be doing the whole, oh, Cup favorites don't do this, Cup favorites don't do that. 26 games into a 70, what ended up being a 70-ish game season last year. Tampa Bay, 13-10-3 start.
Yep. They ended up winning a Stanley Cup.
So
I mentioned
the year before that, St. Louis wasn't even in the postseason like halfway through the year.
Every single team I see named as a cup contender getting thrown around has a 5+ goal loss to a bad team this year. Every single one. So the Avs are not alone in this category.
Yeah, cup
having
contenders,
a bad game.
Cup contenders get beat down, lose to bad teams, and have losing streaks. All of those things happen. And to be honest with you, adversity, especially for Bowen Byram and Connor Timmins, Bowen Byram, Connor Timmins, those guys, they need to live through hell.
This is a welcome to the NHL type thing. You're not
going
to fall out every night. Yeah.
This will all serve as experience for them to bounce back when we are in the postseason. We're living life in the postseason. Fast forward. Collectively, we have all utilized the Speed Force and ripped the space-time continuum.
Thank you, Barry Allen.
And we are in the postseason. Screw this regular season. We're in the playoffs right now. Colorado is up 2-0 in a series. They lose a game. Now it's 2-1. They're feeling miserable. It's not good. Everything is bad. And they're going to remember, oh, yeah, remember that one time we dared to lose 2 games in a row back in February? Guess what? We bounced back from that. We're in the postseason now. We're, whatever. That's just where they are right now. The Avs are just struggling. And it's okay. Like, I agree with what a lot of the chat is saying. These things happen, but it just sucks to go through them. Of course it does. It does suck.
One of our favorite quotes we love to use from Major League, right? 3 games is a winning streak.
Yeah.
3 games is also a losing streak. The Avs aren't on a losing streak yet. They've lost 2 games in a row. If they go out there and beat down, is it LA or San Jose? Or no, it's Arizona. They play Friday. Duh.
Yeah.
If they go and beat down Arizona in that game, back to status quo, right? Like, it's a full season of hockey. There's a reason they play the games, right? Because every given night, any team could win. Anything could happen in a singular hockey game. There's also a reason they play best of 7 series in the playoffs. Because if the Avs were playing 7 games against Minnesota, you would say that was an ugly game. You still take the Avs in this series. Pretty easy for me on still picking the Avs in this series at the very least.
Yeah,
so
definitely. And look, like they are, what I say, they are 16 games in.
Yep.
9 wins and 7 losses doesn't feel great.
It doesn't. But it doesn't feel awful.
Yeah. It's also what happens when you have a 3-3 start. It's a bumpy road. But you look at the fact that they are look at where the division is, since the division seems to be a thing that we're talking a lot about tonight. Minnesota's on a 4-game winning streak, playing the best that they have all season. LA's won 5 games in a row. How many 5-game winning streaks are the Kings going to have this year? This might
Probably one.
There's a realistic world in which the LA Kings, this is as good as it gets for them.
Yep.
And right now, the Avs, they're in their own version of hell. And they're still sitting in the postseason.
Yeah, if this is hell, things are not bad.
They are. Their goaltender is a Vezina contender through 16 games. They have a Norris candidate on defense. They don't have a Hart candidate because the North Division exists.
Yep.
But they do still have one of the best players in the game, in Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah.
Like, they're okay.
Doing just fine.
Like, tonight's result was extremely disappointing, especially the way that it got away from them. But it's going to happen sometime.
You have to be able to compartmentalize, right? This game was bad.
The
Avs were a sloppy mess. They couldn't convert their chances, and Minnesota punished them at every turn. This game was not a good hockey game. But one bad hockey game or two bad hockey games in a row does not mean that the sky is falling. It's a pretty big leap between those two things. Yeah. With that being said,
there's a comment in here in particular,
sure,
that Brian Espinoza just makes about us being too complacent and that the roster should be the top of the division, smoking teams. I would say Brian Espinoza, for the next 3 weeks, don't watch any Avs hockey. Watch a different team. Pick a team. Any team. I don't care which one, except Ottawa. Don't pick them. Bad call. And Detroit. Bad call. Pick a different team. Preferably a cup contender. Pick Boston. Pick Tampa Bay. Pick Vegas if you want. Pick any team that you think is a legitimate Stanley Cup contender and go watch them for the next 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm not saying if you don't like the Avs, then don't watch them. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying
he wants you to compare how they play.
Get the experience of following a different team and what it's like for you to watch and day in and day out. Feel the roller coaster of what you think a cup contender looks like. Like, just do it. Just give yourself a little bit of a roll and see what it's like. You invest in the same way. You watch all of the games, you follow the schedule, you keep an eye on the division, you care all the same. Invest in another team for just a couple of weeks and see what it's like. See what happens. Because maybe that team goes crazy, right? Maybe that team wins a bunch of games and you come back and it reinforces your opinion that the Avs they just can't be cup contenders.
That could happen.
Maybe, and again, this idea that the Avs are not in the playoffs right now. If they decided to stop the season right now, they would use points percentage, and they would be in the postseason.
They would
be
stop with the whole seed out of the West.
Are in the postseason. Stop. It's not true.
I'm not calling anyone out in particular because I probably couldn't even name any names, but it's crazy to me how so many hockey fans and fan bases have this dichotomy of panicking about the regular season. And then the second the playoffs start, seeding doesn't matter. If you're in the playoffs, you have a shot to win the cup. Which one is it, guys? Either the Avs are in the playoff picture right now and they have a chance to win, or should they just pack it in? It's over. They'll never make the playoffs, even though they're in a playoff spot. Every game does not have to be life and death, is how I would put it. There are 56 games in this season.
Like you and I, we break it down into sections of 10.
Yep.
And we say 10 games at a time is kind of how we look at things. How you do in your first 10 games, whatever. How you do at the second 10 games, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a long season. Even 56 games, there are 40 games remaining. And a lot of those are against not great teams.
Yeah. We talked about it just the other day. Realistically, the Avs should be winning 12 of their next 16. A loss tonight makes that a little bit harder for them. Now they have to win 12 of the next 15.
Yep.
But there's still those 15 games to go in this next stretch. This is just one of them. So you gotta take it in context, right? There has to be context with every single loss as well as every single win. Every single game does not exist in a vacuum. And that makes a big difference.
Do want to give a shout out to Colton Bingham, who is showering us with the super chats.
Yeah, you're making it work, Colton.
We're figuring it out as you go, my man. We're picking up what you're laying down, buddy, and we appreciate you. Yeah. All the love.
Thank you to Colton specifically and everyone else who sent super chats our way tonight. I've seen quite a few of you. We really appreciate it from all of you guys.
We'll have to make sure when you get there, hit one of us up and make sure that you get either our attention or you hit us up on social media and we'll come say hi.
AJ, where was this game played tonight?
Ball Arena.
Correct. And at the start of the second period, would you say the Ball staff was a little bit messy? They could clean things up a little bit.
Man, I tell you, I was wondering where this was headed, but okay. We are back, baby.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. Head on over to manscaped.com to get all of your ball care products that you possibly need. They got you covered from top to bottom, whether it be their trimmers, whether it be their toner, whether it be their deodorant. They will take care of all of the balls inside of Ball Arena as necessary. They got you covered. Don't you worry. Oh, it's good to be back. I'm not going to lie. It is very good to be back. Their Perfect Package 3.0 kit has you covered. 20% off when you use code DNVR20 at manscaped.com.
We're back.
You gotta have a little bit of fun to lighten the mood on a night like this. That's all I'm saying.
Somebody needs to make sure that they pull that reaction from Allie, and we need just to turn that into a GIF.
Yep. Just
that we play every time we have a Manscaped read. That's just what we put up on there.
All right. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast.
Real talk, though, which games are considered important? Because Ryan is still going on about standards need to be higher, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I struggle with the important game conversation, too. Because
they are 2-2 against Vegas, and they are 2-1-1 against Minnesota. And they are I believe just the 1-1 against St. Louis, correct? They didn't have a second.
They haven't played again because of the postponed.
Okay, cool. So those are all the teams that you're talking about as the playoff teams, right? Like, so which ones of those are more important? They're 500 against the other two, and they're 2-1-1 against Minnesota. So they don't have a losing record. None of the other high-end teams have a winning record against the Avs. What's the difference here? What's an important game?
That's when you look at the end of the season and you look at points percentage, wherever the Avs end up. Let's say they end up 2 points behind Vegas, 4 points behind Vegas. It doesn't matter which game was the win to get them those 2 points. When you look back at the season, any win would have done it, right? So games,
they're all important because when you get to the 56th game and wherever you are in the standings, however you got there, you look back and you say, okay, well, we need this one last win. This game was important. 55 games led up to you being in that position.
Yep.
They were also important. All the games matter. Losing tonight matters. They had a chance to go 3-0, be 3-0-1 against Minnesota in the season series.
Yeah.
And to really put them in a situation where, should it come down to it, they would have the head-to-head advantage. They blew that. They just blew it. The same way they blew it against Vegas. But at the end of the day, they don't have a losing record. They are not losing the head-to-head against any of these teams yet. Maybe they will at some point, and that'll be a problem. But until that happens, I mean, this hand-wringing over the standings so early in the season. It's like the standings matter, obviously. You need to keep up with the teams and all that, but I don't know. I'm surprised we're talking about the standings as much as we are tonight because it is 16 games in. Like you look at St. Louis. St. Louis is 22 points in 19 games played. The Avs are 19 points in 16 games played. Like, which team do you feel better about right now? I'm sorry. They have it's 20 for St. Louis. They have 22 points in 20 games played.
Yep. Don't feel very good about that if you're St. Louis.
Right. It's taken a 6-game. Oh, LA's on a 6-game win streak. They just updated the actual.
They just beat St. Louis. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're on a 6-game win streak, and that means it took them a 6-game win streak to get 9 wins out of their first 18 games for LA.
Yep.
Like they're all important.
They had to go on a tear to get back to reasonable.
This argument is crazy to me. They aren't consistent when it matters. It always matters. You can't make the argument that every game is important and then elevate the importance of the 16th game. They all matter. They are all important.
Yeah, I agree that
why isn't this a problem for Vegas? The fact that they went 2-2. They blew a home game where the Avs were missing 5 regulars.
Yep.
Like they blew that game. They lose it with 39 seconds left. They got no points out of that. They should have at least gotten a point out of that, right? And they didn't. Why isn't this a problem for them? They blew the game where they blew the outdoor game. Like I'm just not. I don't understand this idea that the Avs would be in first place today. Would the Avs being in first place right now be better? Sure. But where were the Avs in the standings after 16 games last year? Top of your head, Ryan Espinoza. Where were they after 16 games last year? Where were they in the standings? And ask me how much it freaking mattered.
Here, I think, and just to expand on that point, I went back and looked through the Stanley Cup champions over the last handful of years, and almost every single one loses 30% of their games in the regular season, or more in some cases. So every team's going to lose a bunch of games during the regular season. It's part of hockey.
And losing always sucks, man. It sucks.
It doesn't feel good. And there is part of me that respects how into it and how mad everyone gets about this.
Dude, it's what makes hockey fans.
The emotional energy there, you guys bring it every single game. But I just can't do it, man. I break these games down for a living now, and I cannot emotionally lose my shit for every single loss. I just can't do it. I'll die exhausted by the end of the season.
I will tell you if I think you and I are in a different position.
I do. I agree.
Because if we were getting up every day and we were going to a day job and we were coming home
and this was the release, sure.
This was the thing that, you know what, I've been looking forward all day. I've been looking forward all day to this Avs Minnesota game, and then they just get smoked 6-2. I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
I'm going to bed mad. I'm looking at the cat like, what'd you do all day? Or the dog, like, what'd you do? What did you tear up? What can I blame on you? I'm looking at the kid. I'm framing him for drawing shit on the walls. Like, it's not good, man.
Yeah.
I'd be pissed. So it's easy. I will say it's a lot easier for Rudo and I to sit here and be like,
there's another game in 2 days from now.
We'll see. We've got to be at the bar 2 nights this week. Fridays, we're losing Friday and Saturday of social lives so that we have to work on Friday and Saturday. But like we're working a hockey game, so no complaining.
Life is good. Yeah,
it's just a different reality. So I will say it is a lot easier for Rudo and I to sit here and say, guys, they play again in 2 days.
Definitely fair to make that statement.
I'm allergic to cats, so I don't know why I started with the cat. I've never owned one, and I don't have any pets currently, so I don't. It was weird that I started there.
I guess on tonight's game, obviously you can and probably should be unhappy with the loss. But again, to take on the big picture, look at some of the underlying numbers from this game. And they really aren't that bad for the Avs.
Yeah, when the game was still close, the Avs were really pumping.
Yeah, and obviously the wheels absolutely came off in the last 10 minutes of the third period. But
yeah, like you look at the start of the third, you look before things got out of control. You know the Avs are dominating in shot attempts, but the shot quality is not very good, and defensively they were giving up basically only quality chances.
The defense was a mess. I agree, but I hear you when you say the shot quality was not very good. The Avs did settle for a lot of outside shots tonight, but they also had a fair amount of quality chances. McKinnon
they definitely did.
Tonight. Kadri hit a post tonight. Rantanen sailed one a mile high on a 2-on-1, and that's just off the top of my head. Like the Avs are not finishing super well right now, but it's not like there is a complete absence of offense. Pucks just aren't falling. So,
yeah, the Avs had 20 scoring chances tonight at 5v5, which is a little low for them, but not a lot. They average right in the range of like 25-ish scoring chances.
Yep.
At 5v5. So, just that number is just a little on the low side, but really, you know, if you count all of the scoring chances from all strengths, they have 31.
Yeah, their power play was not bad at all tonight.
Yeah,
is the other side. They end up going 1-for-4, which is 25%.
It's ridiculous that the one that was 17 seconds long or something is the one they got. That was the one that ended up in the shorthanded goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous, dude.
Yeah. It's tough. It's definitely tough.
So to me, I think that the fact that the Avs are where they are, standings wise, and they've gotten essentially no meaningful contributions from their bottom six.
Yep.
Should be a thing that actually is encouraging.
Right.
Because you know that
six can't get any worse. Yeah.
Half the team hasn't even come online offensively.
Yep.
And as soon as they start to get there, because they will get there, like what we saw from JT Compher tonight was much more of what we've seen from JT Compher in his career. When he starts to come online, when a couple of those other guys start to come online, they're going to be fine.
You're going to see a 6-2 game go the Avs way when those guys start to come online. So
yeah, well, and I'm saying that you said that it feels like the dam is going to break. They're going to have one of those games.
Yep.
I definitely agree with you, man. We're like the little things are gonna click.
And it's just going to be standing in the way of a freight train.
Definitely. Which one of these teams is it going to be? You know, You're hoping that it's in Arizona
sooner rather than later, for sure.
Yeah. No Evan tonight because we are having a bad snowstorm in Denver, and so he did not want to mess around. He wanted to get out of the arena and get home safe to the family just as quickly as he could. So we weren't going to ask him to
sit in the arena for an hour and let another 2 inches of snow fall. Would have been pretty yikes.
Definitely. So we just wanted to get Evan home nice and safe.
Yep.
So that's where he is. But honestly, man, tonight sucked.
Yeah. Game was awful. Avs. I still, despite the game being awful, it's not hard to see the Avs winning a game like this with a bounce or two the other way. It doesn't take a lot of cleanup to turn this into an Avs win. You're still going to have some of those big mistakes from Timmins. Sure. Maybe Byron still has a bad night, but you just clean up those passes a little bit. You could count it like 20 plus passes where puck rolls off a stick, puck skips over somebody. The little things, if they start to go right, it becomes very, very difficult to contend with this Avs team. But they didn't go right in this game. And it ends up 6-2. So
Not for nothing, but Shane Bowers kicked ass again tonight.
Yep.
I had that game up on the other monitor and was like,
by the way, the Avs fourth line got absolutely buried in possession tonight. So,
I mean, it's not so bad.
It was real bad after the first period.
Logan O'Connor's expected goal for percentage was only 21.
Only 21? Yes, this is fine. Not bad at all.
A good reminder, like Logan O'Connor tonight didn't have a good game.
Yep.
Botched one pass in the first period that led to an icing, and then threw another one. I think it was in the second period that, like, I don't even know who the head man was, because it was that
far off target.
A bad read. Somebody cut. Somebody did something, and it created an icing, and they hit the post off the subsequent.
Yep. A lot of posts
off
tonight for both teams, actually.
There were a lot of and really weird because I was actually listening to tonight because I had the two games on.
Yeah.
Mosher and McNabb had a hard time picking out the post.
That was weird. They were not hearing them for whatever.
Yeah, reason. I know. I'm pretty sure they're not in their normal spot, way up high in the booth.
Yeah.
I think they're on the lower concourse.
They have the plexiglass between them. I wonder if there's plexiglass in front of them blocking out the sound or something. But
maybe it was just weird. I've never seen that happen before on a broadcast where they just struggled.
The whole broadcast is weird. I might have to start recording other broadcasts because the sound being ahead by a second is driving me insane.
Oh, so I didn't have that. I haven't had that problem.
I hadn't either until a couple games ago, and all of a sudden now I'm having that problem.
And people have been complaining about it, right? Like, I've never heard of this. I'm fascinated by it because I'm like, what do you mean that the audio is ahead of the on-camera action?
Yep.
I've never heard of this. That's crazy to me. And I can't even, and like, for the record, this is not us like taking shots at altitude.
No, not at all. To be clear.
The TV production business in live sports in the world of COVID might be one of the most difficult industries out there. That's not like teaching or healthcare. It's crazy how hard their job has gotten.
It's no hate on them at all.
Yeah.
It's mentally weird to hear the sound before things happen is all I'm saying.
I'm disappointed now that I'm not hearing this. Tonight actually started to turn on the Minnesota feed, and then I was like, I don't hate myself enough for that. So I went right back to altitude. And I even listened to it. I even had the sound on. So
unusual for you.
Yeah, that is a rare one. It's I don't know. I'm annoyed that Evan and I had to go to the arena for these last two games.
Yeah.
Like, so
overall, stop panicking, but need more from the Avs.
Like, look, the Avs lost 6-2. Perfectly valid to be upset, to be pissed off, to feel like this isn't good enough. Losing 6-2 sucks. If you're standing at the bus stop waiting for work tomorrow and someone walks up and kicks you in the nuts, that also sucks.
But you still got to get up and go to work.
But you still got to get on the bus. You still got to go to work. You still got to do your thing, man. So you just have to move on. You have to go on with life. It ain't nobody going to stop and feel sorry for you. I told you guys last time that after I saw Kirill Kaprizov in person
in the Calder.
I said that guy is a problem, and there were people who were like, I don't know. He is a problem.
That dude's gonna run away with the Calder, man. It's not gonna be close.
That is the most dynamic guy to play for them since Marian Gaborik was good. Like, wow, is he fun to watch? If they ever find a center, Minnesota is going to be a handful.
All right. On that note, we're going to get out of here for this post-game podcast. Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening, however you consume this podcast. We really appreciate the live chat on YouTube. You guys were, for the most part, quite good tonight. Good conversation in the end. Like and subscribe to the video and the channel. That helps us out a ton. I guess that's it. Oh, yeah, we're sponsored by Strava Craft Coffee. The CBD-infused coffee has really changed lives. Go to StravaCraftCoffee.com and use code DNVR20 to get 20% off your first purchase. We will be back tomorrow with a normal 1 p.m. show. And then, come on down to the bar Friday and come say hi to us. Hope to see you there. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.